As the West Asia war completes 3 weeks, America and Israel seem to be divided on one key aspect: boots on the ground. Could there be a full-scale ground invasion of Iran in the next few days? That's the big question. Let's break it down for you. A day earlier, remember, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu sprung a surprise. He said that a war with Iran could end faster than people think, and that a ground operation in Iran would be needed to overthrow the government. Take a listen.
It is often said that you can't do revolutions from the air. That is true. You can't do it only from the air. You can do a lot of things from the air, and we're doing, but there has to be a ground component as well.
Now, remember, in the ongoing West Asia war, fighting has been unfolding across multiple fronts. Let's first talk about these 3 multiple fronts. To begin with, most of the actions have been seen in the skies, with U.S. and Israeli fighter jets carrying out continuous strikes on key military and strategic targets. And that's why air warfare is something that dominates this war. Apart from this, remember, missiles and drones are also being launched from land. And that is where the land-based missile and drone attacks come in. These have been directed towards cities, bases, and critical infrastructure. Another front, which is less visible but very, very active, is the naval warfare. With its warships, remember, the U.S. is spearheading sea-to-ground strikes to attack Iran further. Now, U.S. President Donald Trump has openly contradicted Netanyahu. He said that he has no plans to commit ground forces to the war in Iran. However, Trump has still left some room for changing his stance in the future. And that raises an obvious question. Which countries has the United States invaded in the recent decades? Let's take you through that. After the 11th of September attacks, remember, the U.S. had invaded Afghanistan in October of 2001. This was to dismantle Al-Qaeda and remove Taliban from power. That's what the aim was, as per the United States of America. American troops left Afghanistan after 20 long years, putting Taliban back in charge of the country. Then, in March of 2003, the country was Iraq. U.S. and allied forces invaded Iraq to overthrow Saddam Hussein, citing threat of weapons of mass destruction. And remember, this had triggered a prolonged insurgency in the region. And earlier in January this year, as we all know, the U.S. Special Forces carried out a limited but controversial operation in Caracas, Venezuela, to capture the Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro, and his wife. Let's also now take a look at the elite military units from both America as well as Israel, which can be used in a possible ground operation if that happens. As far as United States is concerned, remember, the elite forces include the Delta Force, Navy SEALs, as well as the para-rescue men. Now, these are elite forces which have led the raid that killed ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. These two, Delta Force as well as the para-rescue men. As far as the U.S. Navy SEALs is concerned, that's another elite unit of America that eliminated Al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden. As far as Israel is concerned, these are the 3 units that are the elite units of the country. Sayeret Matakal, which is actually the top deep reconnaissance and hostage rescue unit. Then comes Shayetet 13, another extremely significant unit, the Israeli equivalent of the U.S. Navy SEALs and Air Force Commando unit, that is Shaldag. This one is also a significant one. These are some of its other elite units. So this is how America and Israel compare as far as their elite forces are concerned, which can be used if this does go on, if the ground invasion does happen. But remember, a ground invasion of Iran would be extremely challenging. Iran covers 1.63 million square kilometers, which is larger than the combined area of UK, France, Germany, and Spain. Similarly, it's about 4 times larger than Iraq and contains extensive mountainous region. And therefore, a lot of strategic experts also say that Iran is not Iraq, not just militarily, but as far as the topography of the region is concerned, there's a huge difference. So it's not going to be easy to invade and capture Iran. This makes occupation and sustained ground combat far more complex in this very region. Remember, the population is about 92.4 million as well. larger than UK, France, Germany and Spain combined, as I said, as far as land area is concerned. Reports suggest that any mission to seize Iran's enriched uranium is likely to be a limited operation, which will be focused on its nuclear sites. Fordo, Natanz and Isfahan, these have been nuclear sites which have been struck back in June 2025 as well in the 12-day conflict after the US strikes on Kharg Island, which is this one right here, which has been talked about a lot this time around in this particular war that is currently underway. Speculation has been rife that United States may want to seize this island, Kharg Island, which handles 90% of Iran's crude oil exports. And a latest opinion poll shows that a majority of Americans are predicting a ground invasion of Iran. While 34% of the respondents backed a special forces operation, only 7% remember this. They have supported a large-scale invasion there. And amid all of this speculation, Iran has made it clear that they are prepared for whatever comes their way. Take a listen.
We are ready. Even maybe you have seen the news that many Iranian people, after the first strike on the Kharg, they voluntarily took the ships to the Kharg Island to defend. They said, okay, we are ready to combat with Americans, because they actually said we are bringing the troops, some things. We said, okay, we are ready. As our foreign minister mentioned, that we are, for 20 years, we are well prepared. We are waiting for them on the ground. If they have there, okay, please, and you can try it.
Now, with no endgame in sight and growing calls for de-escalation, it remains to be seen whether US and Israel indeed decide to escalate this war and invade on ground.